Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here today with a young man named Tyler Tone. Tyler, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, my name is Tyler Tone. My background is in politics and free speech. I've done a little bit of writing about the intersection of free speech and tech. But more importantly, for today's purposes, I enjoy Twin Peaks. I talked to Richard about Twin Peaks like a couple months back. Eventually started watching the show. I've never written about anything about movies or TV shows, but always been, a big follower of what's been going on. A huge fan of Lynch. So excited to talk to you today about Twin Peaks.
Yeah, so people have been telling me to watch this show for a while, and they keep talking about the return of 2017. I, it was like a lot to get through to get to the return of 2017. There was like 30 episodes between season one and season two, and the original series. I mean, it was watchable. I mean, it was it was weird the whole time I'm watching it, and I'm like, this is a different era. Like, I get this. This is like something different. And as soon as I started watching it, though, I became even more intrigued of like, what are these characters going to be like in the mid 2010s when they bring the show back? By the way, is your background? It looks like you're in the Black Lodge. You got the red curtain. Is
Yes,
that on
the Red
purpose?
Room. Yeah, the background is entirely coincidental, but the shirt is intentionally. Yeah, I
Okay,
definitely wore that shirt with the expectation of
that is
doing a
visible.
Twin Peaks podcast.
Yeah,
On theme. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so people who want to, I mean, people will get this podcast, and some of them will have watched the show, but most of them, probably will have not. So I always encourage people to go back and watch it. I think you can watch like bits and pieces of the first few seasons and basically get like who the characters are, and then pick up in 2017. I think you need to see something of the 1990 to 1991 show in order to appreciate 2017. Well, what do you think?
I think you absolutely need to watch probably the entire first season, half at least of the second season, the very beginning and the very end, to get a sense of what makes the return kind of so special, and to get a sense of what its actual commentary is, which I think is reliant on so many of the differences between the original Twin Peaks and the return, and all the
Yeah,
changes you notice.
yeah, right. I mean, I do think the payoff is great. I mean, the 2017 version, critics rave about it. You rave about it. The payoff is worthwhile. I watch it. I watch them all straight, like within a few weeks, and I got nostalgia watching. Like, I can imagine watching it 25 years ago, but I'm watching it all the week. I'm like, wow, this is like nostalgia. I remember this from like last week. It was kind of a powerful feeling.
How 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 young were you when Twin Peaks originally aired? Did you have like
Well,
a sense of the phenomenon at all?
originally, I was like 5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
so that's probably too young.
how big of a phenomenon was it? Because it only lasted 2 seasons. It couldn't have been that popular.
Oh, it was huge. The first season had 35 million people watching, at least the first episode, and hype only built from there. I mean, you go to like SNL at the period, and like the bit from the SNL at Twin Peaks, when Kyle MacLachlan was hosting it, is like everyone just wants to know who uh killed Laura Palmer. Like that's like the question, in at water coolers and what have you, right? So like it was a big phenomenon, not just in America, but in Japan. I was listening to a podcast recently, from somebody who lived in the town where Twin Peaks was filmed, talking about like Japanese tourists, frequently coming to visit, because like it was like a phenomenon there as well. So it was like pretty big.
Interesting. Yeah, so why did it so then why did it not go on beyond 2 seasons?
Because of well, there was a couple things. First of all, Lynch was you know sort of, he wasn't really pushed off, but they made some decisions, especially regarding the reveal of Laura Palmer's
By the way,
Laura Palmer's killer.
we're gonna have spoilers, by the way, if somebody who has not watched it, just for we're not gonna
Yeah,
hold back
yeah,
anything. So
yeah. So that pushed David Lynch away from the project.
say again. I was talking over you. Say it again.
So basically, like the network had some kind of editorial intrusions, right? Most prominent of which was forcing David Lynch to reveal the killer of Laura Palmer. And he did not want to do that. In fact, like his kind of distaste with that lingers in The Return with some of the decisions he made with that show. But also they moved the time slot of Twin Peaks. It had a prime time slot on Thursday night, and they moved it to Saturday, which was like dead air. And so it's a combination of Lynch leaving the show for a little bit, and the kind of declining quality that accompanied that, and also it's moving to a pretty bad time slot. Resulted in a precipitous decline in ratings, and a lot of people were kind of leaving the show, and network called it quits. I mean, they weren't even going to release the last 6 episodes of the second season. It took like a fan letter writing campaign to get them to even release those episodes. So it kind of had a very quick rise and a very quick fall.
So yeah, I guess back then you could be very big, and like there weren't that many TV shows. It's not like today where I think things are more likely to get made and stick around. So like ABC, CBS, NBC. I mean, those are not a lot of slots. Okay, well that's interesting. Yeah, I remember who shot Mr. Burns. Do you remember that?
I do not.
Okay, that was before your time, but I do remember that. Who shot JR? No, that's even before my time. I don't know. I don't even know what that is. I just know the phrase who shot JR. Anyways, I was fascinated by the 2017 version. I think it lived up to all the hype. I didn't know Cooper was. I didn't know he was. Did you know that guy? Maybe you don't remember. You watched it a long time ago. Did you know the evil Cooper was Cooper the moment you saw him?
That it was Kyle MacLachlan, or that it was like some version of him?
No,
yes.
Yes. Okay, I did not. Maybe I'm face blind because I was surprised.
He did a really good job, right? Like he seemed like a different world version of him.
Yes, and I was reading that he had black irises. I did not know this. I did not notice this during the show, but I just read this in somewhere before talking to you.
Yes. Yeah, like a great white shark's eyes.
Right. So they called him Cooper when they were that scene when they were sitting in that restaurant or diner or whatever. And then I'm like, oh yes, that's Cooper
or Mr. C.
Yeah, right. I think they called him Cooper. I think I needed that. Or it was when he was in the hotel room with Daria. Yeah, whatever. One of those scenes.
Yeah, at different points. I mean.
Yeah. And I thought so we get these 2 Coopers for most of the series. First of all, the Cooper character is the one I was most interested in seeing how he would be portrayed in 2017, because he is a more of a 1980s, 1990s character. It's like the era before, we had like anti-heroes where we just had heroes, right? And this guy who has like top level integrity, doesn't sleep with Audrey Horne, even though she's like naked in his bed, follows the law, cares, brave. His only vices is he loves cherry pie and coffee. And so, yeah, I'm like, what are they going to do with this guy in 2017? And anyways, you just jump in with any thoughts there. I have more on this.
Yeah, I guess I would ask just a pause on the original series in Fire Walk with Me. I mean, what did you think of Cooper when you first saw him? Like how did you think of you think of like the great protagonists of television, Walter White, Tony Soprano. Did you get a sense right away of Kyle MacLachlan's Cooper as one of those types? How did you feel about him?
He kind of snuck up on me. In the first scene, I didn't think he would be like the A character. I didn't think he'd be the top guy. So he's he's driving. I thought he would be like a big character. He's driving. He's the FBI guy. He's talking into his tape recorder. I thought he would get there, and then we would get to I don't know if that was the opening scene or one of the opening scenes, but I thought he would get there, and then we'd have the real story, which was actually about Twin Peaks, or maybe Truman was the top character or something like that. So it was it snuck up on me. I was like, okay, this guy's just kind of too clean cut, because this is what we're used to, and what do we think of heroes or anti-heroes? They have to be kind of larger than life, right? And he didn't come off like that. But over time, I just like really grew to like care about the character and like really like him. And I got into, I think, the 1990s mindset that I hadn't been in a while.
Yeah, yeah, I like how you describe him. Yeah, he's like a clean cut, like Mitt Romney, Mormon FBI agent type.
Yeah, we
Um,
never find. By the way, the Mormon thing, we never find out much about his back. We don't know about his parents. We don't know, like, where he grew. Do we know where he grew up? Like, we don't. We don't know where he went to college. Like, do we know? We don't know a lot of stuff.
Nothing. He mentions like a girl he knew a long time ago
Yeah,
that he
some
had
love
like a
interest.
relationship with.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's it. And it's probably intentional to some extent.
Yeah. And yeah, I just figure he's, and so when in 2017 comes along, they don't give us Cooper until like the last 3 episodes, 2 or 3 episodes, right? We have lobotomized Cooper, Dougie Jones. I don't
Yes.
like what's the explanation of like why his brain doesn't function? Is there a reason for this? Like I don't know, I didn't really understand.
Um. Yeah. So when they're in I forget it was episode 2 or 3 at this point. When he's in like the otherworldly dimension, which is related to the Black Lodge and the White Lodge, where the big tall giant guy lives.
Uh,
He meets Nato, which is the kind of the Asian woman who's like completely blind.
yeah.
Um, he's going through that whole process, right, to try to get back to the real world. And I
Mm,
think the implication at one point, when they're in that room and he's like, he's trying to go out doing that, is that it's like too early, that if he were to do it, it would, and to go into his like true form, it would like kill him. So instead, he goes and he enters in this like kind of catatonic state, and he's only woken up later on with like the electric shock, right?
yeah.
I think that's like the kind of lore explanation. But again, it's really, I think they're more as like a commentary on like nostalgia. I think Lynch knows you want the old Cooper as he was, and he
Mm,
wants to withhold him from you. And he's
yeah.
kind of like, he doesn't like that viewers expect everything to be a certain way and to go back a certain way. He doesn't like like the whole Marvel thing of just playing on certain tropes that the audience loves, and the heroes doing their classic thing, um and kind of like reliving old glory again and again and again, and like leaning in on those kind of nostalgic tropes. He doesn't like that, and I think this kind of withholding of Cooper is like a commentary on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did kind of, what is the term here? Like nerded out or whatever. Like when he was like Zombie Cooper, and like he got into coffee. I was like,
Yeah,
this is the hint of the nostalgia, but it's done such a funny way. And like when he sees cherry pie,
yeah.
he's really into it. That's like it gave us enough of it because I was just like, this is hilarious. This is the old guy under there who loves his coffee. And I didn't understand like the coffee routine. I guess that was really funny in 1990. Like a man loves coffee. It's like okay, it's like people like it seems like it was easier to make
Black
people laugh.
coffee, black as midnight.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I guess it's funny. I don't know. I'm old enough to maybe remember. Like maybe it's just things get old. Like I don't know. Like 10 years ago or like 15 years ago, people like urban liberals or something would say like, "Oh, you don't want to see me before I had my coffee." Do you know a website called? This maybe you're too young. Stuff white people don't like.
No, I don't know that site.
So it was around 2008, like 2009, during the Obama phenomenon. It was called Stuff White. And it was like the original, like before it wasn't like woke, really. It was like mocking like hipsters, like people who are like urban liberals. And that was like one of their taglines, like, oh, my coffee, right? So it was like a kind of a funny joke, I guess, until it got old, maybe in 2010, maybe it became cliche by then. But I guess in, 1990, it was probably like really
Different
fresh.
association.
Yeah, different. I don't know. So maybe they move, but I don't know. Eventually, it became old. Like just talking about how much you love, how much you love coffee. Um, we have this thing now where sometimes people will say like, "Oh, this guy pissed me off, and I need a drink." Like it becomes like a thing, like I like to drink or I need to drink, and I think that was like a kind of joke that people said, but now they don't seem to say that anymore. So maybe it's something like that. Anyways, so yeah, so we got that little bit of nostalgia. So that we get catatonic Cooper, and then we get evil Cooper. So like we know both of these characters. Like we know like a lovable doofus, and we know like these are 2010s characters, or just like an evil guy, right? Um, the evil Cooper is interesting because they didn't give him any like anti-heroes. Like you often have like some redeeming qualities, and I guess because of the way of the story, like he doesn't have that, right? He's just totally bad.
He's pure, yeah, he's pure evil. He's like Bob,
He's
he's
like Bob.
terrible.
Yes.
Yeah, Bob's in him. It's not clear that he's like Bob, like 100%.
Yeah. The Bob thing is interesting. 'Cause I also wonder, the other thing I wondered how they would, like, Bob as a villain is also like something that would not work. It's like the villain is like a dirty looking guy with long hair with like a jeans jacket, right? It's like, I don't know. It's like a 1980s or
Yeah.
1990s idea of like a street punk or something like that. I don't know. I think it like if you had Bob like who looked and talked like Bob did in like 2015, it would be seen like as a joke. I mean, it's just kind of, it does not, and that's why Bob doesn't get, like, Bob himself doesn't get much of a role, right? He's in that little bubble and makes a mean face and like goes around the room at the sheriff's station. But that's it. We don't see Bob like giving monologues like he did in the earlier show.
No, yeah, yeah. Bob does funny. You mentioned his wardrobe. That's really interesting. I've never thought too much about that. Was that terrifying in 1990? Like seeing him in that jeans jacket, did it like remind you of like an abuser, like or something? Like, oh yeah, that's like my abusive husband or boyfriend. That's exactly what he looks like, coming at me.
Yeah, I mean now jeans, like if I'm thinking about Sydney Sweeney, and it's like Sydney Sweeney's in the jean
Yeah, jeans.
outfit, and
Yeah.
it's like the opposite, right? It's like maybe it was new and it was like intimidating. I think like a leather jacket, like I think maybe it would like go back further in time, like maybe in the 1970s or something. I don't know. I'm not old enough to know, but like I feel like in the older days, like a leather jacket would be kind of like, the Fonz. You ever see Happy Days? It's like,
Yes.
yeah, like the Fonz, like something like, although he's a nice guy, but like a bad guy could often have a leather jacket. So maybe maybe jeans jacket was the thing. Yeah, it's kind of weird how we react to these things, like, and how determined it is by like kind of the culture and these kind of like arbitrary symbols, everything from jokes to like what a bad guy dresses like.
Yes. A funny quick fact about Bob. My understanding is that he was like a member of the production crew and they just like liked his face for it.
Just some
Like David Lynch, yeah, David Lynch just thought he just liked his face for it and then he ended up having, this full-on role. They thought he made like a good like scary face. Which I don't quite get, but like, it works for what it is, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels like, I don't know. Like the first time I saw him, he kind of looked scary. Like it was kind of out of nowhere. I think that was one of the, what Sarah Palmer saw him, and it was kind of like out of nowhere because it was like I think it was like one of the first hints that the supernatural was real in the show. Which
Yeah.
I don't, I don't know if I knew that at the time, but I don't know. It was kind of a surprise. Oh yeah, and then he has that one scene where he goes after, was it Maddie? He goes after her. He's like crawling on the floor, like just Bob just showing up. So I guess
Yes.
Bob is the force. But then we do get like, he does give us the nostalgia moment. He does give us like the big nostalgia moment when Cooper wakes up from the coma and then they go to the car and it's just like it's playing the old music. It's
Yes.
like,
Yeah, exactly.
that was
But
beautiful. Yeah.
then yeah, but then like once it all comes together, you have his like superimposed face on the screen. And then it's like we are in a dream,
Mm.
right? Like that's like telling you, at least how I read it, and lots of people read it differently, is like, this is kind of an illusion. This is not how this
Oh
thing
wait, the
ends.
Cooper waking up and all that, you think is an illusion?
I don't think it is illusion. I think it did actually happen, but I think like symbolically that face was like telling us that like this is like, this is not how things end. This is not how things work. This is like a dream. This is an illusion. in like a symbolic way. A lot of people do think that that was like actually a dream, though. At least like a portion of it. But I definitely think Cooper woke up, Cooper did all that stuff. But
Wait,
I
so
don't want to
what's your
get
thing?
out
The
of order
illusion.
or whatever.
What's your theory? What is the illusion?
The illusion being like that happy ending is how it ends, right? That
But it
like
didn't have a happy ending because a bunch of
it
other stuff
didn't, it
happened.
didn't, it didn't. But like that like I think it's like wanting you to reflect on that like moment of satisfaction everyone feels when all the things come together. You have all the payoff, and then you have Cooper's superimposed face to kind of remind you, like this version of events that you think is happening and is going to happen is a dream. It's an illusion. At least that's how I understood it. It could
Everything that
probably
you
be
think,
understood differently.
everything that you think is going to happen isn't okay. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what else could he be referring to? If when he says, "You are living in a dream," he says something like that, right? That's the only thing he says. His face is superimposed across
Uh,
the screen for like 15 minutes, and that's the only thing he says,
hmm.
right? Like, and it crashes what is like the most like optimistic scene in the
Yeah.
entire series, right? So like, I think there's supposed to be a lot of importance on that point because as soon as that ends, it's all dread for the rest of the series, with the lone exception of the one scene where Dougie's introduced to the new family in
Yeah.
the last episode, or not the new family, but
The
the
old
new
family.
Dougie's introduced to the Janie E and Sonny and all of them.
Yeah. By the way, the universe, like when they tell Dougie that, you were created for a purpose, like who's like the benevolent force controlling all this stuff? Is it the midget? Or is it the fireman? Who is control? Who would create somebody for a purpose? Like who would do that?
I think he was created by Evil Cooper to,
Dougie.
yeah, Mr. C. I think he was kept to keep his like other half contained, right? Somewhere. It's
To
either
keep.
that or he was created until like that 25 years passed, right? Remember,
Yeah.
Laura's like, I'll see you in 25 years. And then he was just there. So there was like a body that he could be deposited into
Yeah. I thought it
once
was
that
meant.
period ended.
I
So
thought.
that in that case, he would be created by the White Lodge. Either the giant or the man with one arm, Mike.
Yeah, the man with the one arm was evil, and then he cut off his arm.
In turn to good. Yes.
Yeah, like I'm confused about the cosmology. I'm confused how these good characters kind of fit together. I guess that's
Yeah.
what the answers we never get.
I mean, like there's like character like maps and there's like stuff online connecting all the dots. I tend to put less importance on that though. I think like with this like really abstract stuff,
Hmm.
what Lynch is doing is he's just kind of like just trying to like create a vibe,
Yeah.
and those vibes kind of contain ideas within them. And then, that vibe just helps set the tone for the story.
The other character like the other so like the number two character from the original series was Harry Truman, and
Yes.
it's interesting how they deal with it. So the real life story apparently is the actor didn't end up coming. He was retired or something, and apparently thought about coming back, but then ended up not coming back.
Yeah.
Did people expect there to be Truman to come back at some point? Because I was watching it and I'm like, oh, is he going to be a big reveal in like one of the later episodes?
I think I remember at the time, I think when it was airing, I looked it up and expecting him to show up at one point. And then, I read that something had happened and that he wasn't going to return. Like a lot of the casting stuff was out there.
Yeah, but the way they did it, they knew. I mean, when they started filming, he wasn't going to be there, and then they made
Yeah.
it so that he was. Then they made it so he was like always kind of teased to the audience, right?
Yes.
And it's like the Cooper thing where I think like
It's
Truman is also.
withholding. Yeah.
It's kind of Truman is also like too good for this world that we've created too, right? He was kind of like maybe he's more flawed than Cooper. He's not. He's not as like I think as an extraordinary person like Cooper's, but still like a completely solid, person with integrity. And And yeah, we don't get that either.
Yeah, so tell me more about that read that Cooper is too good for this world.
Yeah, so Cooper, every heroes tend to have like flaws, like even the anti-heroes, like it's even going to the other extreme where it's like they are like a bad person but they have some redeeming qualities. I think that's like the anti-hero, and then we debate about that, right? I think Cooper it's kind of, it does remind me of like kind of pro wrestling. You're probably too young to remember, but it was like at 1990, it was very kind of clear. The good guys were just completely good. The bad guys were bad. There was no complexity. So Hulk Hogan was like the main one. May he rest in peace. He was like the big figure of the 1980s, 1990s. Good guys and bad guys were clear. The culture changed in the mid to like late 1990s, where people didn't want that. And Hulk Hogan had to change. He had to go. He went to WCW and became an anti-hero, became a bad guy for a while. And like there was this thing where it was like it became ambiguous, like who were the good guys and who were the bad guys in wrestling, right? And so like 1980s Hulk Hogan like was kind of a anachronism like by the late 1990s, and it's kind of like that too. I think that like shows had these characters who were just heroes. I'm trying to think of like I'm trying to think of like old uh sitcoms. Nothing's coming to me, but it was just like kind of, we had these like prototypes where like good guys were just kind of uncomplicated, and
Of
we don't see
course.
these people in 2015, 2020.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, the original Twin Peaks came up as like a kind of satire commentary on the popular primetime soap operas of the time, like Dynasty and Dallas. They feature that their own like mini soap opera, Invitation to Love, throughout the first
Yeah,
season. The second season is like a homage to that.
yeah,
And those all featured kind of uncomplicated, nice, friendly, like characters, right, that we know from like soap operas. And I mean, the original Twin Peaks was kind of like a commentary on that. And I'd argue the return and kind of subverting a lot of those characters and complicating them is kind of like a
yeah.
you know
It's interesting. I mean, it was
insight.
interesting that it was on ABC, that you could do like kind of like this, kind of high quality art at the time on network TV. Have you watched like any like network TV sitcoms of like the last 5 years?
Um, I mean, just as like an experiment, right? Just to
Yeah,
see what's
same with
going
me.
on, just to check in on it,
Yeah.
see what's
I
going on over
I
there.
think they're remarkably bad. Like I think they are kind of like, they have a lot of action, like a lot of killing, a lot of drama, a lot of like stuff like that. But they're not, they're not sophisticated. I think they have this kind of I think they are kind of lowest common denominator kind of shows. Um, and I think that I think there's something happen in the culture where like you can make a great movie or a great TV show, and it could be on a network TV because people didn't have that many options. Now that stuff is on HBO or it's like on Netflix or something. The really, I think, high end stuff that people that critics appreciate is not on network TV anymore.
Yeah, it was more centralized back then. It's more fragmented now,
Yeah,
which is another theme of the Twin
yeah,
Peaks series.
yeah. What do you think of that? Yeah. So the first one was in like, it was the entire show was in Twin Peaks, right? They never left. Was there any scene outside of Twin Peaks?
Fire Walk with Me definitely. I do think I man, I unless you'd count the Red Room. I mean, I there was the bank. I don't know if that I don't remember if that was in downtown Twin Peaks. They went across the border into Canada.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Um,
One Eye
but
Jacks.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
almost entirely within like this suburbia kind of setting.
Yeah, and then the next one is like it's New York City, it's Montana, it's South
The
Dakota.
first real sequence is like in a like scary cold skyscraper.
Yes, and yeah, you do have Twin Peaks too, but you have like basically it crisscrosses. Was there any international stuff? I don't know, but I think yeah, basically crisscrosses.
Argentina,
Where was in Argentina?
the little device that was like kind of
Oh,
like a
that was like
conduit for communicating between Mr. C and like his various agents.
yeah, yeah, right. Okay. Um, United States, Canada. I don't think there was even Canada. Uh, but yeah, so like there was this one article you sent me from the LA Review of Books. Was it LA Times Review of Books? Whatever it was.
Review books, yeah.
Jonathan Foltz basically says that this is a commentary on society. You used to have one town. I don't know. You have to have a community within one town, and you used to have like one one culture where everybody was watching the same shows or listening to the same music or talking about the same news stories. And now that's kind of gone, and this is like the sprawling nature of Twin Peaks kind of reflects what's happened to society.
Yes. Yeah. And it dovetails with that Twitter thread I sent you too, which kind of makes some of the same points. But yeah, I think it gets at Lynch's worldview, right? Which is profoundly pessimistic, right? The Return, I think, is like a fairly pessimistic and bleak kind of outlook on the world today. I mean, Lynch will say in interviews that we're like living in a dark age, and I think that's kind of reflected in this work. And yeah, I mean, like you just look at like the setting for the show in the first place, not the setting, like location where it took place, but the venue for the show, which is like, Twin Peaks watched by 35 million people on ABC. You have millions of people, talking about it, the workplace water coolers, watching it together and intently. And then you have The Return, airs on Showtime, averages 300,000 viewers, right, on this like little mini like desolate network. And it's like a completely different thing. And this is kind of reflected in like in the setting as well, where they have like all these kind of desolate settings. Like it's not like a bright and colorful suburbia
By the
anymore.
way, you know what? So yeah, in some ways, like Twin Peaks is kind of like America. It's like not a Rust Belt town, but it's like kind of like the idea is like kind of an American town, which is like kind of the world is moving.
Yes.
But you know what? It's kind of also it doesn't it flinches a little bit from the reality because those people would all be really fat in real life. These people who live in trailers would be ginormous. They would they would be covered in tattoos, right? They would have weird hair color. He doesn't give us that. They're like
they are though. In a lot of
some of them.
The Return looks like this. Like you have that Jack, you have that mechanic, right? He's just like this like pathetic looking guy.
Oh, but Americans look much worse. I mean, Americans in the middle of nowhere look much worse than that.
What about the lady that's screaming in that car at Bobby Briggs?
There are some cases.
The lady who gets beat up by Richard most of the way through. I mean, yeah, it's like it's
beat up by Richard.
Yes, remember she tattles on him for hitting the kid, little boy.
I don't think she even had tattoos. Like even like yeah, you're right. They were occasionally overweight. The young people who are like in the bar and at night at the Roadhouse are like they're all attractive. They don't have tattoos. They usually don't have weird colored hair. They are remarkably better looking than despite the occasional fat person. I don't know. Maybe you don't have experience of like driving through the middle of nowhere.
No. Like you're right. No, you're right. I used to live very close to kind of like the outskirts of civilization. And you're right about that. But the point I'm making is like The Return is clearly like tries to be more like less idealistic and idyllic, right, in its setting than Twin Peaks. And I guess that's what I might make
more idealistic than reality, and at least how people look like. I feel like David Lynch sometimes is just like kind of horny, right? I feel like Mulholland Drive was just like an excuse to get these two hot actresses together, and I think the character Tammy, like their whole point was just she was nice to look at. I think it was just like eye candy, pretty much.
The fact, well, I don't know if this makes it better, but yeah. So the actress that played Tammy, I forget her name. She was like she collaborated with David Lynch on music for like a few years, like leading up to the show, and she was really into meditation, which David Lynch is all about. He's like the biggest meditation guy in media, right? And I think the idea is like he tried to look for a role for her in this show, and that's how he got Tammy.
Okay, yeah, he does like to stick with the same uh, actresses, right? He had Lauren Dern, which I didn't know was Lauren Dern until later. I didn't know during the show. He had that one Spanish language singer who was also in Mulholland Drive. I forget her name, but she did one of the scenes in the Roadhouse. Um, yeah, and so here's the thing that one of the things that I really liked. Oh, by the way, why do you think why was Cooper have a tear when he looked at Sun? What's the kid's name? Sonny John. It's a kind of what a strange name to.
Yeah, we could just call him Sonny for the purposes of this.
Yeah, okay, but why was he crying? That was kind of interesting.
So which episode was this?
This was one of the episodes where it was early on,
earlier on,
and he's looking at Sonny John in the car, and he's by the door, and like a tear goes down his eye. He's with his wife, and his tear goes down his eye.
Well, there clearly are moments where, like you mentioned with the coffee, where like the old Cooper kind of comes back for a little bit, right, and like shows through. So like that might be a little bit of that breaking through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't remember the scene very well, as I rewatched the show last year.
Yeah, it's a nice scene. It's a very subtle kind of beautiful scene. One of the ones that stayed with me the most. But anyways, yeah, I thought it was I thought maybe he was thinking like, because this was like, I don't know how much he understood, because this was his genetic. I think they're all the same DNA, right? They have the same fingerprints and stuff. All these Coopers, and so that was like his son, right? And then Richard was his son too. These are his genetic offspring, though he himself did not, did not have sex with them, but they are his kids, right? It's like a twin brother. It's like a twin brothers, I guess, children, right? So yeah, he has Richard, and he has Sonny John, and Richard he never meets, and he just gets killed. Yeah, I wonder, are the offsprings of Coopers like different genetically? Like, is Richard bad because he was his dad was the evil Cooper? I don't know if that transfers, because I think they have the same stuff.
I think you're supposed to believe that Richard is like how he is because of his relation to Evil Cooper and the rape,
science,
right?
You're supposed to think what? I'm sorry. Because of the
and because of the rape, right? Like he's a child of rape with this like evil demonic being.
But it's kind of weird because like when it comes to fingerprints and stuff, I think in DNA, like they come back as the same people whenever they're doing forensics. So it would be the same DNA, right? But somehow the evil.
Oh yeah, so they'd be brothers then, I guess. Yeah.
They would be brothers. Who would be brothers? Oh, Sonny and Richard.
Yeah, Sonny and Richard. Yeah.
Yes, they would be. Yeah, they
brothers.
Should have the same. And I guess Dougie is kind of like a mediocre, like, no, he's like kind of in between. Maybe he's like, he's somehow like, he's not evil, but he's not good. He's just kind of.
Yeah. Do you mean Dougie before he became like catatonic? Yeah, he was like a sinner, right? He was like having an affair. He was like a gambler.
Yeah.
I think they imply he was like a drinking. Yeah. He was like he was like just kind of a piece of shit, like a garden variety piece of shit guy.
Well, I don't know. That's kind of harsh. I don't know. Just like black prostitute.
I don't know. I think like you're supposed to believe like this is somebody getting punished, right? Like.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, he deserved to be destroyed because he visited.
No, not that he deserved to be destroyed, but more to the point of just like David Lynch will like punish like sinners, right? In his work.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So one of the things I found really. Okay, so one of the scenes, also another one of the scenes that stood with me was when the young girl Becky, who's Shelley's and Bobby. By the way, Bobby, it's interesting to see people age because Bobby had always had this very distinct, baffled look, like young Bobby. He's got like his just face, the way his cheeks and his mouth move when he's like surprised. He's like when he does, I can't do it, but like there's this just like very very distinct thing, and you can. He's like always looking befuddled. You can see it still in the old man's face. It's kind of the older Bobby's face. It's kind of just, I was just kind of taken in by that. But the scene with Bobby and Shelley, they have a daughter named Becky. And, did you have the reaction I had when watching this? So while watching this, I see them, they're all sitting there. It looks like they're a family. It looks like Shelley and Bobby are like married. And then Becky's their daughter, but then like this criminal, they like Richard's boss, like I don't know if the guy even had a name, but this criminal comes in and like takes Shelley away and like makes out with her, and Bobby looks dejected, right? I thought that was a kind of a striking scene because they gave you something. They gave you like, this is a family, Maybe the girl Becky has problems, but they're a family and they're a unit. And then instead you see like Shelley is like still dating Leo pretty, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, like she hasn't changed. But then also there's like what happened after it, right? Like from what I remember for the scene is like they're kind of like lecturing her a little bit, about the choices that Becky's made, right? With her boyfriend,
They're talking
who's
about
like a
loaning
psycho.
her money. She needs money for something. Yeah,
Yeah, and they're talking about her, they're like, "Oh, we're afraid about losing you," or whatever, and then right after that, I mean, you see, she goes and kisses that psycho, drug dealer guy, and then you just have, like, this, like, amazingly, like, crazy, scene of violence that happens immediately after, where you have that traffic jam, you have, you have that kid, who shoots out a gun, right? And then his mom is, like, yelling in this, like, exaggerated way, about the kid, and then the kid's, staring at Bobby when Bobby walks over to see what's going on, and then he goes over to the girl, vomiting, and then the fat woman that you mentioned earlier, you know, shouting at him, and it's just like this incredibly chaotic scene, and I don't know. I guess the idea is like, that this kind of crap that Becky's dealing with is like reflected in the world around her in some way, right? I do feel like that scene stuck out to me, but maybe in a different way.
yeah. Yeah. Say that. Say more on that. So it's like it's kind of a chaotic scene. So she's a product of. But
Yeah,
Shelley
yeah,
is
yeah.
taking
Like,
after her. She's also taken after her mom too. There's something that
yes,
in this family that draws them
yeah,
to like abusive,
yeah,
terrible men.
yes. There's that, and also I think it's like yanking the rug from underneath us, right? This kind of anti nostalgia kick again.
Yeah, and then and then like later in the series, they do it again with Ed and Nora. And I remember that scene was also like, no, they did this to us again because Ed and Nora are sitting there. It's the first time you see Ed. You don't see him until one of the later episodes. And I just thinking he's like the guy who's kind of like really fits in like 1990s and not so much later.
Yeah,
And then and then it turns out that Nora is dating the business guy, whatever, who's like trying to get her to change her change her diner. But then later it turns out that Nadine, which we didn't know what this was the case, Nadine and Ed were together. So it wasn't that Nora had rejected him necessarily. It was that Ed remained married to Nadine, but then Nadine says you can leave, and then you get the happy ending with Ed and Nora, right?
because she listened to the Jacoby show, right? And she was
Yes,
inspired.
yes, yeah. We'll get to Jacoby, but like this Ed Nora thing, yeah. What do you think of that? It was kind of like the opposite of the Shelley and Bobby story.
Yeah, I can't think of any like exact reason that would make Lynch want them to work out, but not in the case
Well,
of
maybe it's generational. Maybe Nora is like 15 years older or 10 years older than Shelley. And maybe like women, it's like kind of, you see this kind of, maybe the nice guy was still like an attractive kind of prototype for her, while it's not the case for Shelley. Shelley was kind of born in an era where, I don't know, she wanted the bad boy. Maybe it's something along those lines.
yeah, maybe. I think really just like the Norma Ed thing was like such like a like a central like fan sticking point in the first series, like people wanting them to get together, where people cared much less about like Shelley and Bobby being together. That like I think David Lynch just wanted to like throw some sort of bone, or at least he thought that their relationship, turning into what it did at the end of the series, like he thought that like just made sense for those characters. Like that's usually how things goes. He's like I take an idea and then take an idea to its natural endpoint. I think with
Yeah.
that he thought that's like
Well,
how the arc was supposed to end.
well, where I thought it was going was like Nora. It's like men are kind of struggling, like women. Like so, was like competent enough. She had like a successful business, and he was just it's funny because they show him in that episode when he originally comes up, and he's in his shop alone at night and burning a match, and it says like cash for repairs only. And I'm like, okay, so he's a cash only business, and this guy did not adjust to the modern world at all. Like, that's like
And he gets rewarded for it.
he does, but yeah, that's the twist, right? You're like, oh my god, like I just that sign just stuck with me. I don't know if that sign was in the original. I'm not sure, but cash for repairs only. He's only taking cash. He's not even dealing with credit cards at his business. And a woman leaves him behind because she's like a modern businesswoman now and has all these chain of diners. But then you're right, it turns around again, and he ends up with her.
Yeah, the people with like simple lifestyles get rewarded. You know, the Dougie's family, Janie and Sonny, they're the in the last episode they get rewarded with the good coop. And I think he likes that family and likes their way of existence, and just how they just like accepted Dougie as he was, like
Yeah,
this
that was funny.
this
That's strange. Yeah, that wasn't really believable. He was like in a coma, and she would be like, "Oh, this is one of his." He was like, but then
he was like
nobody else.
Forrest Gump or like Chauncey Gardner from Being There or
Yeah,
something
but
like
it's
that.
worse than that. It was worse than that. I mean, he would just repeat whatever you said, and then it wasn't just the family. It was like, yeah, it was like the people at work who you're acting a little weird, Ducky, but it seemed like he was way more than a little weird. Um, yeah, the yeah, so yeah, kind of the left behind men is kind of interesting. The Yeah, the Dr. Jacoby storyline. So it's I the way I read this. So when he's first, like, it turns out he's a streamer. Um it's kind of interesting because it is localized. Like, I don't think of like streamers and like podcasters as like, I think they might be listening to somebody who's just like, somebody in another part of the country or whatever. Um, but the way I saw this was, these are the MAGAs. This was 2017, so like they're just whatever. They were right
Yeah.
wing people listening to talk radio. Then they eventually became the MAGAs. It's These people are like the B. They're all the B characters, because when Dr. Jacoby, the only people we see listening to him are Nadine and Jerry. Both of these are old people who are not A characters, like not important characters. Nadine especially is kind of, she's just like an obstacle, like in the way of like Ed and Norma's love story. She just has like no role. And so it's like kind of like the people who become MAGAs listening to talk radio all day or whatever, watching streams, are like the people who have nothing else. And that's why they're like this, basically.
Yeah, well, two notes. Are we sure that it's like the show is like a MAGA analog? I mean they're yelling about like multinational corporations,
They were
right?
ahead of
First
their
and foremost.
time. They were was Maha MAGA. It was kind of
Oh yeah,
it was
yeah.
really ahead of its time. It saw where it was going. In 2016. It was kind of less. Yeah, I think it's
The
recognized.
ideology is not the point, just railing against the system
Well, yes,
generically.
but yeah, I think like talk
I
radio was highly ideological in like the
Yeah.
early 10s, 2015. It was always like, oh, Obama's spending too much money. Right now, like kind of like right wing influencer space is much less ideological. They like love Trump and they're angry, and it's just like whatever's big and foreign and like cosmopolitan is kind of scary. And so like the Trump like RFK like connection, that like Brett Weinstein, this is Alex Jones, like all these people are kind of in the same bucket. That didn't exist as much in like 2017, but I think it was, yeah, like someone like Michael Savage, who was like a right wing, like first of all, like the ideology, if you just listed the ideological points, it's not, it could be like kind of centrist, but like the style, like the imagery, the kind of just the way of speaking, the way of delivery, the fact that he has American flags and the, what does he have, like the Statue of Liberty, right? The kind of the symbolism
Oh yeah, that's
aesthetically.
true.
And plus it's rural. Yeah, it's a white guy with a beard. I mean, there are some angry left wing old white guys with beards. But yeah, I think aesthetically it is kind of identifiably right wing. I mean, it wouldn't make sense as left wing because that's not what people in rural areas who are listening to like obscure streamers are in old people are into. They're into right wing stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember at the time he sounded a little like
And by the way, the
Bernie
scamming thing,
Sanders.
the buy this shovel and shovel your,
Oh,
that's
yes.
also a right wing kind of.
Yes, yeah, no, that's not Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders would never sell you like a shovel of gold or whatever to finance his operation. That's true. No, that's a good point. But I don't know. I don't know if we're supposed to like dislike or look down on what he's doing. Like there's a scene before that Nadine has her big moment with Ed where there's like a shovel being shown off behind her drape runner, her like silent drape runner, right? And she has this interaction with Jacoby that's like so like innocent and human. They're just like talking on about
Yeah.
whatever, the equivalent of like the weather or whatever. And it's like a very sweet interaction, right? And then Nadine comes from that, and decides to get her life together, let go of her past grievances or whatever. It's as if like she's like channeling her grievances into this like little innocent kind of show, and then going about and
But well, I mean,
fixing her life.
she is like happy and cheerful, but the messaging is not very nice.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
like these
It's
people are
not.
scum, it's really kind of
No, it's not. But then
painful, yeah.
Jacoby goes out about and lives like a totally fine life. Like I want there to be something in this that's like Lynch looks down on these people or whatever. I just I don't know. On rewatching it, I couldn't find that.
I think that when the kid was shooting the gun, I also got kind of that impression. Like, look at this crazy country where like kids are just handling guns and like shooting them into restaurants. I think there was, I don't remember exactly, but I remember there was like one or two aspects of that where I was like, okay, there's a little bit of that. You're right. No, it's not overtly political in that way. It's kind of, yeah. Are you supposed to like look down on him? I mean, like, look, he's selling like a scam product. He is kind of like just ranting. I don't think you're supposed to think he has like coherent critiques. I don't know, maybe David Lynch does. I don't know his politics, but like it doesn't seem like a coherent critique of the world. He's just kind of like an angry, insane person that like people are listening to when they don't have much else in life, right?
We know who Lynch voted for in 2016. Would you want to make a guess based on this show only?
Well, not based on the show, just base rates and demographics. Hillary Clinton, but am I wrong?
He voted for Gary Johnson.
Okay, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say perhaps Gary Johnson. Okay, that's it. That's interesting. Yeah, not Trump. Huh? How about 2020? Do we know?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. By the way, another thing. I don't know. I hate making everything about race, but very white show for 2017. I mean, no. I mean, you would think black characters are everywhere. It would be everywhere or something. No, there's no gay. There's not even a gay character in 2017.
There's a trans character.
Oh yeah,
there's Denise.
They had it originally in 19.
Yeah. Season 2. Yeah.
When there was no trans, they put a trans on, and then when trans are supposed to be everywhere, it just has the same guy, but it's not. There's no gay people.
Yes. Although I wonder if like trans people don't like the depiction, because every scene the Denise, the trans character, is in is about Denise being trans, right? Yeah. Denise doesn't like it, she doesn't just go about her work
what else
or whatever.
Do you expect? Yeah. By the way, the one kind of this is what makes David Lynch a right-away. This is what clinches it. The type of non-white person that he seems to like the most is Asian females, right? That's what you see, because you see the blind woman, you see the little girl, the skinny girl who's carried off in the
NATO, yeah.
No, but the skinny girl who's carried off in the Roadhouse. She's sitting there.
Oh, and she's put down.
Yeah,
and she screams. Yeah,
like there's a sexual like kind of. She's on the crawling, and then she screams, and she looks like a schoolgirl. Right, there is this kind of. Yeah, and I think I remember like when the girls are talking, like one of them happens to be Asian at one point, which is like would be normal, except he doesn't have other people of color really in the show. He had Josie in the original series, so he did have this does go back like you have Asian female characters,
which makes sense. The Pacific Northwest, right? Like I imagine that there'd definitely be some Asian people.
Yeah, not a lot of Asian males.
There was the businessmen, but they came in for Josie.
They came in as part of connection to
Mr. Tujimori or whatever.
Yeah, right. What were we talking about?
The demographics of the show.
Very few people of color, like those hotels, like even in the middle of nowhere, like the motels and stuff, like they probably the good chance they'd be run by Indians at this point. But yeah, it remains a very very white world.
I don't know if you get this feeling, but yeah, it feels like the Twin Peaks like is about like white America, like not just like the suburbs, but like the suburbs and like rural white America. right? Like both the original 2 seasons and Fire Walk with Me and The Return.
Why the suburbs? Because it's the suburbs is kind of it's they're not connected to a big city, are they? I mean, the biggest
No,
city is
no.
Spokane. I don't know.
Suburbs just meaning suburbia, like just like white picket fences, bright blue skies, people mowing their lawn, like
Yeah.
idyllic America, right? Like it is small town America, yes, but like that kind of like housing and environment, right? Like what
Yeah.
the houses look like and stuff. Like they're not trailer parks.
Yeah. Yeah. But although there is trailer parks, which shows up
Yes.
first at Fire Walk with Me, so it's a kind of yeah. They do have a class. They have the Palmers, and then you have people live in trailers, so you do have like a cross section within Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing we should talk about the Audrey Horne thing. She's okay. I thought she might be dead because she was in a coma. She was in that
Yeah.
explosion. I did not recognize her right away, but until then I like, is that Audrey? I thought Charlie, her husband or boyfriend or whatever. I thought it was a midget when I first saw him because you see him and he's sitting down. He's got like the look of a midget, but then he's not a midget. He's kind of normal height. You're looking like I'm crazy.
Oh no, sorry. I was just looking up something real quick.
Okay. Well, he looked like a midget to me. Yeah. What do you
He
make of
did.
what do you make of the Audrey thing? Although he wasn't. Yeah. What do you make of the Audrey thing?
I actually so that whole storyline I think of as just kind of foreshadowing for the finale, right? Like her kind of doing the nostalgic dance and then like again the rug pull, right? She's like, oh no, this is like she's in like this bleak kind of disaster setting, right? I guess it's inferred to be some kind of like asylum, but for all the audience sees, it's like just plain white background.
Hmm.
But a theory I heard is that so Sherilyn Fenn and David Lynch had issues on set. They didn't get along. Um, what I've heard is that like that's supposed to be David Lynch and Sherilyn Fenn, right? Like that dynamic where the husband is David Lynch and how he feels when he's on set dealing with her. And David Lynch is like a very petty person. So like he'll like throw people out of casting decisions, he'll do stuff like that. He'll impart his grievances onto his work. So the theory is like this is just him kind of putting onto Audrey and this character, what he feels like it is to work with her.
Yeah.
But your thoughts were interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the Audrey thing, like, it's kind of the way Bobby. I say he has a very distinct kind of face and the expressions that he makes, and you can see it as he gets older. Same thing with Audrey too. You could tell, like, the way she flirts, the way she moves her hair. It's the same person, but much older and much less attractive, obviously. And look, she didn't age well. I don't know if she didn't age well or they just went out of their way to make her not look good. Shelley looks great, by the way. Shelley is like, I think there's like I looked it up, there's like a 4 or 5 year difference between them, but Audrey looks much, much older than Shelley. And Shelley, I think, still looked pretty at like, 40, 41 or whatever it was. The Audrey thing, it could be a commentary on like, female charms, like kind of these female traits of like being frivolous and like, being kind of dramatic and like flirty, but kind of like never taking anything seriously, but always freaking out and going back and forth and, kind of volatile. Like that's kind of attractive when you look like Audrey Horne when she's like, in her early 20s or whatever. Not so much when she's like 50. And I think the world has kind of discarded her. She's trapped in this world with this, with this weird looking guy in this strange relationship.
Yeah, but the original series, she was also like wily. She was like clever. I mean, she was like
Something's happened to her, right?
Yeah, yeah. She's like BPD in this version. Like she's like she's not like sane, right? Which I think is maybe reflected the fact that she's
not
like
well.
in some kind of asylum.
So she had a baby with Cooper, and
she was raped. Yeah.
Was she? Do we know she was raped? Why?
That's the implication. Yeah.
Implication? Why?
I mean, I forget exactly where. I just remember coming away from an understanding, looking into it.
he could have had sex with her in a coma, or she could have
Yeah.
woken. Well, he did rape supposedly, I think,
Diane.
Diane. So he just went around
Yes.
raping. Yeah, but he could. I mean, he could. She wanted Cooper, right? So he doesn't have to necessarily rape. Maybe that's being Mr. C. You just rape.
Yes, but it just he can't have consensual sex. Yeah, everyone he has sex with is
He must rape.
raped.
He must rape. It looked like he had a relationship with Daria. So it looked, and that other the woman, the crazy woman who went around killing people. It looks like she was having a consent. So it wasn't like he was unable.
Oh
to
yeah,
have
yeah.
consensual sexual
Jennifer
relations.
Jason Leigh or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah. So
the hitman duo.
yeah. Well, I think the implication is he screwed her up somehow. Either he raped her, or he probably didn't treat her well, or something, because he was evil Cooper. And so yeah, that's part of it. The music. Yeah, before I forget, like the original series is kind of weird how much they relied on like the music. Like it's like every scene, it's like the whole show is playing like the theme song or like the Audrey Horne dancing music, right? It's like
Yes.
half the show. It's like amazing how much like people were like able to accept repetition back then. It would drive you crazy, I think, today. But then they bring back Audrey's, like, I don't know, I guess her theme music of like her famously dancing in the diner.
It's a super creepy scene. The Roadhouse where she's like doing the dancing. Yeah, it's one of the creepiest scenes in the series.
Yeah, and the guy, she's dancing, and then the guy some guy attacks another guy, right? It's kind of like reality crashes in, but then but this whole thing is not even reality, right? That's kind of,
yeah.
I mean, she's institutionalized, kind of broken. Yeah, they talk about an agreement between her and Charlie. Yeah, Charlie might not be real. I don't know. Charlie might be her arguing with herself. I think they went out of her way to make her. I think the attraction thing is big. I think they went out of her way to make her unattractive in this too. I think they wanted to emphasize that that her charms are gone, because like she's wearing this like black thing, which is like not flattering. I've seen other pictures of the actress. She looks better in other pictures. I think they went out of her way, and the hair I think doesn't work as well on her as she's older. I think they went out of her way to kind of make her less attractive, because it was driving home the lesson.
Yes, they also do that with, I think, like other characters too. Like they emphasize kind of like a lot of the like old like good guys and protagonists, like their sickness is kind of emphasized, right? Like they constantly talk about how Sheriff Truman is sick. The log lady has like she's like barely getting by.
And,
I mean,
she actually died
yeah,
right, around that time.
Yeah, 4 days after her last appearance on the series. Yeah, but like the age and like I feel like the age is definitely like I don't know if they like played up like how old a lot of the actors are, but I don't think they did any work to make them look younger unless they were specifically de-aging.
Lucy didn't look bad. I think she kind of maintained, as much as you can. I think Andy, Andy didn't look great. But he was like a fat old guy who was like with weird hair. I don't know how much you could have done with him. Hawk looked, I mean, I'm fine for an old man, I guess. The other guy, the other Sheriff Truman, he was pretty handsome, rugged old man. Shelley and Norma, I think, looked good for their ages. I think Ed looked fine for his age. I think Bobby maybe looked a little older because the hair, I think, was just so white. He looked older than he was. He should have been like 40 or 45 or something. The white hair really does make men look older. I don't know. I don't know if they really do that. Cooper looks about what you would expect, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think about this? So Ben Horne has by the way, Ben and Jerry, was that like where the ice cream came from, or did the ice cream come first or the series come first, or what?
I don't think the ice cream has anything to do with it.
You think it's just a coincidence?
Yes. I'll lock that in.
You'll lock that in? Okay, you're gonna look it up?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Let's ask ChatGPT, because this I think is interesting. Did Ben and Jerry the ice cream?
Yeah, it founded in 1978, so ice cream came first.
So he might have David Lynch might have taken it. He does this a lot, like he does the Harry Truman thing. And even his name is even Harry S. Truman.
That's intentional, yeah.
Yeah, Harry Truman. How old is Truman in the show? He's like in the original show. Thinking, yeah, he was probably born.
41,
Yeah,
38, something like
probably
that.
born around the time, the years after Truman was president. And then the other one is Gordon Cole. Did you see this? This Gordon Cole, like, so I didn't notice this during the show, but I was looking it up after. Before Cooper electrocutes himself, he's watching TV and he's watching a movie, Sunset Boulevard. Um, and then what reminds him to electrocute himself? Someone says, "Go get Gordon Cole." So apparently, there's a character named Gordon Cole in Sunset Boulevard. I think I'm getting this right. And then that reminds him, and he goes and he electrocutes himself.
Okay. Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So he does take these. He does take these people. Anyways, but the Ben Horn thing, you think he's gonna have sex with his secretary, and he's like, I can't. I don't know why. Right? He's kind of gone soft in his old age. I don't know. What did you make of that entire subplot?
Well, he did have that like arc in the second season, right, where he turned over a new leaf, became a new man, and I mean maybe he's
He was
just
into
like
religion. He was
sticking
buying,
true to that.
yeah, religious
Yeah.
books after he had a Civil War phase.
Yeah. I and now he's doing that, and his brother is apparently thriving, right? He with his legal weed business.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess he's not so left behind. I mean, he's a B character, but he's thriving. He's adjusted well to the era of legalized pot. Yeah,
that leads him on like this wild goose chase, right? That's
you're
with him
right.
talking to his feet. So
It
maybe
doesn't end well.
he's not rewarded. Yeah.
Yeah, he ends up in New Mexico, and then he ends up in he watches the evil Cooper man electrocuting his son. Like,
Yeah, that he just like wanders into the plot at some point. Yeah.
goodbye,
Yeah,
my son.
I don't know. I get the sense that Lynch doesn't like drugs. You never see it in like some like positive association in this series.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, that's right. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Um. So yeah, but Jerry. I mean, I don't know. He's at least seems happy. He ends up in Wyoming and is found, and his his brother.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
But yeah, for Ben Horn, I mean, I got the idea. He had this transformation, but I don't know. I think he was probably still having affairs, and I don't know. Like, it's hard to know. It seemed because like Jerry at the beginning is like, oh yeah, she's hot or whatever, and then one of the first scenes, and then Ben is like, oh this is a place of business. That's like not the old Ben Horn, but yeah, like when he's alone with Beverly, the secretary, he's sitting there and he's talking about he's talking about Laura Palmer. He's probably thinking about what happened to Audrey, and it's like he just can't anymore. He's just like, I've had it with young women. Like, it's too traumatic to try to have sex with them, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's matured. Did he make anything of it? Like, there's that fixation with the ringing noise that they're like trying to track down.
Yes. So it seems like he is like thinking about having an affair with her. Now maybe that's not something he was doing regularly in the last 25 years. But yeah, he's like, walk with me, and he's walking very close to her, and it's kind of a seduction. But then like at the end, like she's willing, and he's like, I can't do that, and she's like, I don't know. He says, I don't know why, and then she goes, you're a good man, Ben Horn. So I think this might be just another. But you're thinking about in terms of his character, but I think it's another kind of changing with the times. I don't know, like the business executive who was like sort of seeing.
I'm trying to think how it might connect to the themes of the show, right? This like little vignette.
It's just another cultural. It's just another kind of cultural change, right? We used to like just see it as like innocent or like kind of expected that like.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
sex with younger women.
Now this is how we'd expect him to act.
Yes, how we'd expect a lot of businessmen to act. And now it's like you get canceled or whatever, but he's not worried about getting canceled. He's kind of internally become a different person. He's not having it. We're not in the era of like, old men having sex with their subordinates anymore. That's just not.
That's Lynch showing us what maturity looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a libertarian. I mean, I think he's probably ambivalent at best about that change.
Yeah.
And a libertarian who keeps putting Asian women, yeah, in places in his shows. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like sex, like the you see in that first episode, right? That like sex between that couple, gets like punished, right? It's like almost like an Adam and Eve situation,
Mm,
right? The big
yeah.
demon comes out and takes them out.
What is
They weren't supposed to be there.
yeah, what even was that? Like it was like who what like so was it Bob Cooper who killed them?
That was Judy. That was Judy.
And
It was some entity.
who hired him to look at the box?
Mr. C.
Mr.
Right.
C
So Evil
hired.
Cooper. Yes.
So what was Evil Cooper trying to do or what?
Just like I don't know, either monitor the situation, right? Like of any updates, any sightings of Judy. Because remember, Bad Cooper's like trying to track down Judy, right, or figure out what Judy wants, right? So maybe monitoring the situation, or maybe it is some kind of trap, right? Like you see, like Cooper gets like trapped in there, very briefly in episode 2 or 3 or whatever, when he's like trying to wander through that, the alternate world.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any other kind of storylines that are interesting? We could get back to the big themes if there's any other that are, you think that are worth going over.
What did you think about the Meacham brothers? When I originally it was like I thought you would like the show. I was just like imagining like you would getting a kick out of like the Meacham brothers storyline.
Yeah, I did love them. I did like the Meacham brothers. They were funny. I was highly entertained by their kind of their kind of banter with each other and the way they like, we're going to kill Cooper, then decided not to, and the way they play off each other. Yeah, I did enjoy I did enjoy them. And then I like when Cooper's like, I'm going to tell them you guys have a heart, have a heart of gold. I thought that was sweet.
Yeah, they almost came out to me like characters from like Better Call Saul or something like that.
Yes, Better Call Saul. Are they Better Call Saul type of characters? Like, I don't know. Like the bad guys, like the mobsters are really serious killers. Like they're more clownish than anyone. Bar
that
Saul
is true.
Goodman,
Yeah, the
Saul Goodman himself.
It's more so like the humor, I guess. I don't know. I saw some kind of association.
Yeah, just guys in the desert in suits, maybe is what it is. It's kind of
there you go.
The Legion brothers,
guys in the desert in suits.
Yeah, and then you had the the kind of the South Dakota and the people in South Dakota. Was the guy's name Cletus? What was the guy's name? The Cooper's assassins, the man and the woman.
Let me see. I found this little like chart. I know it's Jennifer Jason Leigh and Tim Roth. God, there's so many characters in this season.
Yeah, what about that guy that like looked like an Armenian or an Iranian guy who ended up killing them? That was a kind of.
That was a great scene. Yeah. No, that was excellent.
It is a kind of commentary on America. You do see like guns and like weird situations of people just like doing stuff. You kind of, they were the Meacham brothers are like, oh, it's a crazy neighborhood or something like that. I think I got the impression that maybe he was kind of a liberal from some of the gun stuff, but maybe not.
Yeah, Chantel, that was her name.
Yeah, Chantel. Yes, it was weird. It's like kind of I don't know. Do lower class white women have names like Chantel? I don't know. It was a very kind of strange name. And I think the guy was Cletus. Was it Cletus?
I think so.
If it's Chantel and Cletus, that's weird. It's like a very low class black name and a low class white name. And they're always eating fast food.
No, Hutch, not Hutch. Cletus.
Oh, why did I say Cletus? What is that?
I know. I was like, that sounded right. That's kind of like a Hutch-esque
similar
name. Yeah.
And they are, they're kind of just like evil and like kind of competent but also like cold-blooded killers.
They're like Tarantino characters, and I hope this is a better analogy than the like Better Call Saul characters.
Yeah.
Do they strike you like that, or is it just Tim Roth?
I don't know. Also in that. Other than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I don't think I've ever watched a full Tarantino movie. So maybe,
okay.
Yeah, maybe I know what you mean. I know the reputation of like guys people who go around killing people. But I saw Pulp Fiction too back in the day. But
yeah, but the violence thing. Did you see this? Somebody replied to you with like a 4-hour video when you tweeted that you were going to be recording this podcast.
No,
and it was like, you got to watch this 4-hour video that explains everything. I glanced at this video briefly, and it says like that's what Twin Peaks is all about, violence. Violence on television, right? And like confronting the viewer with like what, the kind of visceral nature of violence today, and how like, desensitized we've been to violence on TV or whatever. And they use those points. But like David Lynch has been like asked about this in interviews, right? It's like what do you do? Do you like, are you trying to confront us with violence? And he's just like, no, like
Are you
that's
trying to
not what I'm
confront
doing.
us with
Yeah.
violence?
Yeah. Are you like, yeah, like, this interviewer, it was like a Cahiers du Cinema interview. So it was in French. And it was like, the violence is very impressive. There's the domestic violence between Becky and Steven. It's very visceral. Are you trying to confront us with this violence? Get a message across? And he's just like, no, that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah. What would the yeah?
It just seemed like a like it goes back to what I was saying. It was just like it just creates like a vibe that's kind of like conducive to the kind of world building he's like trying to do.
Yeah. So
right. And he thinks the world's dark.
Mhm.
Right, and violent. But there's not just more violence, right? There's more drugs, there's more sex, there's all kinds of stuff.
Just not fat people and tattoos. That's the one thing.
Yes,
It's too
exactly.
ugly to imagine. Yeah. So that's like we've gone through the kind of the big like the subplots, but I think like kind of like the stories within the stories. But they're the big kind of narrative plot is there's this episode where it's like 7 or 8. It's like when it's the atom bomb. It's just a kind of weird surreal thing. And I think the lesson is somehow that nuclear weapons, and I think there's probably some like botched quantum mechanics kind of like thing of like why the nuclear bomb created these like multiple universes with different Coopers and different Laura Palmers and so on. Yeah, so that, I mean, is that I don't know, just what do you think of all that?
Yeah, I don't think there's any kind of like canonical like scientific explanation, or like, this makes sense because so and so, quantum thing happened, and that produced the Black Lodge and caused the convenience store to be filled with crazy homeless people. Like that doesn't exist. I think it's like kind of symbolic, right? Now what the atom bomb is symbolic of, and like why the atom bomb specifically, I think is an open question. To me, it's like there's a theme of like innocence, right, throughout the Twin Peaks. I think like Laura Palmer represents the fight of like innocence and sin, and she's like trying to contain and protect innocence. I think the atom bomb is like kind of it represents like a loss of civilizational innocence, right? I think it represents technology progressing and sort of robbing us of our humanity. And like the atom bomb specifically, I mean, like now you can kind of destroy civilizations with the click of a button, right? I think I don't think he's interested in the Cold War.
Okay.
Like I don't think he like thinks like he's trying to say like nuclear weapons are bad because now it creates all these.
He doesn't
like,
have a take
global
on like nuclear peace theory
or
like,
proliferation. Yeah. I don't think that. I think it represents something like kind of bigger, right? It represents us like stepping towards this dark age. And I think technology is part of it. I mean, like electricity is like and it's like uses like a current for evil.
Yeah,
Is
right.
like featured heavily throughout the series, right? I mean, and like Lynch will say like mocking things about technology in like interviews frequently. So I think he thinks like technology has helped kind of separate us from our humanity in some ways, and like the atom bomb and like the this kind of glorious invention that it represents is like some big step in that. I'm not sure how to quite articulate it, but I do think like I think if AI happened like 35 years ago, for example, I think there's a chance like it could have been like Sam Altman, turning on like ChatGPT or something, and that could have like been that scene, right?
Yeah.
I think he was just like looking for something that kind of represented this idea, and the atom bomb is just like this big turning point that kind of represents this.
I find like the symbolism of going from like nuclear weapons as this kind of symbol to AI to be kind of depressing. Like the nuclear bomb is cool, it's big, it's the world of
Yeah.
atoms. It's like the man is still in control. We're still kind of, we're the brains behind it, and we'll ultimately determine what gets done with it. AI
Yes.
is depressing because AI beats us at the thing we're good at. I mean, the nuclear weapon is a tool that just is good at what machines do, which is just destroy and move matter around, right? And then the AI is just, this thing that's frightening for all these reasons and creates all this slop and makes us stupid and potentially kills us, potentially kills us all. And it's just some nerd, an OpenAI pushing a button. It's less romantic than, Oppenheimer and these guys in the deserts of New Mexico, the Manhattan Project. It's just not as romantic, not as cool in any way. And I want to be a techno optimist, but yeah, I kind of I feel that. I feel like I want the nuclear weapon as the symbol. I don't want it to be AI.
Yeah, but here it's like a symbol for bad, right? Not like a man being in control. If anything, it's like us like losing control of like I don't know, our inner selves, right? And whatever that force is, Laura Palmer is supposed to be like a counter to it, right? That's kind of what we see in that episode.
Mm-hmm. Laura Palmer. How did Laura Palmer get? I mean, I don't know. Is there an answer to this? How did Paul? How did Laura Palmer get to be that?
Um, Well, what do you mean?
I mean, how does she get to
Well,
be a cool?
Cheryl Lee, like David Lynch picked a picture of somebody, off like he just saw a picture of Cheryl Lee, off like a talent show in Washington or some random thing like that, right? And he decided, her face makes sense. There's that, and then like, how did she get to be, the symbol of good and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think that developed over time, and I think Fire Walk with Me is like where he kind of solidified the idea of Laura as this like very kind of complex symbol of like standing for something big. What exactly that is, I don't know. She's like I don't know what happens to
It's
her
like a
in
world. It
Fire
feels
Walk
like a
with Me.
world with the devil, but without God. It feels like there's whatever.
Yes,
What's the ultimate? It's either Judy or Bob. Like,
Judy.
yeah,
Judy.
Judy is the
Judy's
ultimate.
stronger than Bob.
And
Yeah.
Bob, okay, and so there is like an apex, like, say, character of representing evil, but then there is no. It's like these good characters, the one armed man and the giant. Yeah, they don't seem up to it. They don't seem like they don't seem like adequate kind of challengers to Judy.
And whatever the Giants like plan is that he like whispers at the beginning of the return, it like doesn't even work, right?
Yeah,
Or
and like
or at least or Cooper fails on it.
yeah, the
And the one armed man, I don't even know if he's good or if he's just like cynically backing them,
he's
right?
cynically
He's like
bad. Yeah.
cynically backing Cooper because he wants he wants control of Bob, right? He wants
Well, he
Bob
cut off his
contained
arm.
in
He
the
made a
Black Lodge.
sacrifice not to be evil, right? So
He did do that. He did do that, right? But to what ultimate end, right? Is it just controlling Bob and having things go back to how they were before Bob came about?
yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure as to his motives exactly.
Okay, so yeah, last thing. Let's talk about the kind of the last episode and the or the last two episodes and how it ended. Um, I asked ChatGPT for a bunch of explanations. Speaking of AI, I don't like it because it's always written like these liberals on Reddit, which is probably what it's trained on for like two does
Yes.
TV criticism besides liberals on Reddit, right? So it's always like that. It's always has some kind of um, explanation like that, which I often don't find is right. But this one was about something like um, yeah, basically, I think the standard explanation is something along the lines of Cooper is trying to be the hero, trying to save the world, and somehow it doesn't work. Right? What is that? What is even the plan to take this Laura Palmer and what must be a different universe back to her mother's house? Like that would, I don't know. What is he trying? What is he even trying to do here?
Yeah, so there are like different versions like of this, right? Different accountings of what happened. What we see in the series is like at the very beginning, the giant tells Cooper, he says something like 4:30, Richard and Linda, two birds with one stone, right? So 4:30, that's driving 430 miles to the portal or whatever it is. That's the point where that's when they cross over into that alternate universe with the fake Laura, right?
Okay.
In the finale. And then Richard and Linda, that's the alternate identities that Cooper and Diane take on. And then there's Two Birds with One Stone, which is presumably the plan they're trying to carry out on behalf of the Giant, right? Kill two birds with one stone. Now, what that refers to, some people are like, well, that's kill Bob and Judy, right? But Bob, I feel like is mostly gone at that point, so I'm not sure about that.
The other explanation, was the green hand, the guy with the green glove punched him?
Yes, that all happened.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, the fireman was responsible.
Freddy, right? Yeah. And then and then the other is that he's trying to save Laura and kill Judy, right? That's the other explanation. I mean, there's some people who think like two birds with one stone just refers to like, you know, the bird symbol is like this, right? And then one stone, and then that's the symbol of Judy is like that they show on the card throughout the series. But I mean, I really think that you just have to kind of look at what the like cinematic language is telling you. Like, are you supposed to feel dread? Are you supposed to feel happiness? And then like go from there. I don't think you can really connect the dots to understand the ending, or kind of the abstractions in Twin Peaks. I think you gotta think about like, okay, what am I supposed to feel, right? And then once you get that down, then you look for evidence for that, right? Because like a lot of people say that this was a positive ending, right?
Why would they say that?
Because what they say is that that essentially that alternate universe that they set up, right, was a trap. That the plan was a trap on behalf of the Giant, working with Briggs and Cooper and what have you, and they were trying to lure Judy into that trap, like into that world. And first they try having sex, right? Because as you saw in the first episode, sex might attract Judy. And then either that doesn't work or they need something more powerful. So they look for Laura, right? Who Judy hates, right? You see at the end of the penultimate episode, Judy is just like smashing that picture of Laura, right? So Judy and Laura are opposites. So they try to bring Laura to Judy's house, right? Which is she's controlling Sarah Palmer. And then once like Laura recognizes who she is and becomes Laura Palmer, you know, I forgot what name she was using, like Maddie or something like that. Once she recognizes who she is, when she hears the scream from Sarah Palmer inside the house, that like represents some kind of bomb going off or some kind of like pent up like energy within Laura Palmer going off and, you know, trapping Judy in that universe and you know, destroying that world and basically catching Judy, right? So
interesting.
That's supposed to be like a happy ending, right? Huh. But like I don't know, when you watch that whole last episode, it is like the most bleak kind of like dreadful thing you've ever watched, right? It is like you just you feel kind of so cold and like and it's so foreboding the whole time. Like it is like a bad ending, right? And I think Lynch has like said this as much. Like, you know, where did I find this? Yeah, he says at one point that like, you know, somebody asks about the ending and he says, well, if we lived in the golden age, we'd be there at the end of Twin Peaks, but we don't live there, so we're in front of the Palmer house, right? So he's kind of he's kind of saying, you know, we live in a dark age, so it's like a dark ending. At least that's how I interpreted that quote. Yeah. So I think you look at the vibes like created by like the imagery and the sounds, and then you go from there. Most people try to connect the dots and try to make a coherent sense of it all.
Yeah. Okay, well, I love this show. I love The Return. Yeah. I recommend people watch it. Even though we had a lot of spoilers, you're probably not going to remember half this stuff if you go back and watch it. Yeah, it was great. Any parting thoughts to the audience as far as Twin Peaks?
No, you know, it was good show. It was fun talking about it.
Okay, it's a good show. Let's keep talking about. Yes.
I don't have I didn't draft a
Yeah,
conclusion statement.
that's all the endorsement you want. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. So
Yeah, I guess the only thing that we didn't get at is like, Twin Peaks, I think, is nearly, if not as important as The Sopranos for creating, modern television as we know it today. Like, it deserves its place in the canon, and I think David Lynch died recently. It's as good a time as any to get caught up on like what he's about and
yeah, okay.
what he did here, because it really is a work of art.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
I completely agree. All right, thanks a lot, Tyler.
See you, Richard.